We might be too strung out on confidence, overdosed on compliments, started not to care, and then we stopped fearing the consequence. Welcome to the Dom Skiing Channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. And today, we are previewing ALCS Game 3, set to go underway. First pitch is in just over 2 hours. John Schneider is doing his pregame press conference right now. Dan Wilson had his earlier. We're going to get into all of it. But first, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you can get the videos as soon as they drop. Going to try to get these out before the games a little earlier, but going into this game, there's a few things I want to focus on, right? I'm saying, that opening of headlines by Dre because I think it absolutely applies to us right now. There's so much hype going on. We just did exactly what we talked about during the Tigers series. Go into another team's stadium and feed on their energy. We fed on their energy. Now we come back here and they have a chance to do the same thing. You flip this stuff around, right? And you turn that emotion that we showed in that last video. You know how emotional I got in that last video if you saw it. We're turning that emotion into motion today. That is stoicism. With that being said, I want to get into things starting out really small scale. In Jupiter, Florida, there's a lot of high school baseball being played right now. And I saw a tweet today, somebody saying that it's interesting that the low velo high school guys are doing better in a lot of cases than the high velo high school guys. And why is that, you might ask? Because they're going with sinker slider approaches. They're getting ground balls. We could see a shift back to baseball being very, very pitch to contact focused. Strikeouts have been all the rage in the 2020s, absolutely. But how did we go get the heart of the Blue Jays lineup out these last couple games? Sinkers up in the zone to Vladdy, full of confidence from Bryce Miller. Go straight at Alejandro Kirk with sinker slider approach. You can get these power hitters off balance just by going and pitching to contact a little bit. And this is how we attack Kirk, Vladdy, and the Blue Jays as a whole. George Kirby is a matchup that you can see tons of optimism in. And George Kirby is a guy who absolutely paints the corners. If anything, the strange problem with George Kirby, completely unorthodox and unusual, is that he pitches in the zone too much. So this is the difference between, control and command, right? Control is throwing the pitches where you want to. Command is being able to use your pitches effectively. And George Kirby has flashed that command in spades, especially in the last month. That's why he started game 1 of the last series against Detroit. That's why he started game 5. When we needed our best pitcher on the mound, he's who we went to. You gotta love the spot that Kirby has right here. You can see all the optimism, but what we want him to do today is pitch outside the zone on purpose. One thing the broadcast mentioned that I do agree with last game is, and I think it might have been even game 1, but that the Blue Jays hitters are dominating the zone just like the Mariners pitchers try to do. They try to go straight at the Blue Jays hitters dominate the zone. They work walks. They're a great plate discipline team. And that's part of what allows them to sell out for power at the right times, because they don't do it on every pitch. They're taking a 1-0 every pitch approach, which is what we talk about. And we want Kirby today to pitch outside the zone a little bit on purpose, be more pitchability than just straight up pumping it in the zone. We don't want to give the Blue Jays hitters much to work with at all. And once Bryce got even more confident, you could see him not just painting the edges, but going straight outside the zone. Logan, obviously, a super attack-heavy pitcher, one of the top 10 pitchers in baseball at the moment, I would say. Starting pitchers going into next year, he's going to be top 10, especially considering he's got, since he's had a clean bill of health, that splitter of his has been the best swing and miss pitch in all of baseball. But you go, see the first 2 games, you see the low strikeout totals for our starting pitchers and great results. That's heavy on the sinkers. Carlos Vargas doing excellent. Edward Bizardo doing excellent. The snapdragon sinkers out of the bullpen have been working. Do they continue to do that? Well, sinkers are, a pitch that relies on quality of contact, trying to induce ground balls. And quality of contact is the stat that takes the longest to normalize of anything in the MLB. So when we move into looking at Shane Bieber on the Blue Jays side, who's starting today, he's only had 114 batted ball events this season to Kirby's 351. Therefore, his quality of contact stats are just, we have to take him a third as serious as Kirby because he's had less than a third of the batted ball events. And you look at, George Kirby over those 351 batted ball events, 90.6 average exit velocity, 90.6 miles an hour. You look at Shane Bieber over his 114, 93.2 mile an hour average exit velocity. And for frame of reference, when you look at these two lineups, the highest average exit velocity on either side for a hitter that's normalized, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at 92. Therefore, Shane Bieber's quality of contact stats have normalized so little that his average exit velocity is higher than even Vladdy Jr.'s. Hitters on average are hitting average exit velocities even higher than Vladdy Jr.'s average against Shane Bieber. That doesn't mean that Shane Bieber is a guy who's going to just throw balls in the zone that we're going to crush. But it does mean that, you look at that, take it with a grain of salt, you say, okay, well, guys have been able to do that this year, and I'm sure, our analysts are watching tons of tape, seeing exactly why that's happening. Only watching a little bit of Shane Bieber this year, you can see, he can cruise. He gets into some flows similar to, a little bit similar to Gausman at this stage of Bieber's career is, he's very feel-based pitching. And, he could have several solid clean innings against us, but that doesn't mean that we change our approach. And getting into our approach and what we're going to do on offense, this is the theme of the day. And I'm going to give credit to A-Rod here because he mentioned this in his post-game two, analysis in the post-game show. A-Rod gets the human element of this team. He also gets our offense. In his post-game for game 2, he said Edgar Martinez is the best offensive mind he's ever been around. And he mentions Edgar Martinez's stoic, it's an incredibly stout up the middle philosophy where you're going to go ahead and, you're going to be, and Jorge Polanco, we look at Jorge Polanco and his up the middle approach this year, which Ryan Divish asked Dan Wilson today about in his pregame press conference. And Dan's response was, yeah, Edgar's really, brought that into the team and really is emphasizing that. Jorge Polanco, what we said in our preseason predictions, one of the biggest things, I was saying that slowing his bat down in the zone was going to make it more effective for him. The less he sells out for home runs, the more he'll hit, the better of a hitter he'll be. Which absolutely you can go look at last year, right? He was selling out for power in those swings, also was injured. That all plays a factor. But the up the middle approach for Jorge Polanco is what made him a 2019 All-Star in Minnesota. And it's what's making him a playoff hero in Seattle. And you give so much credit to our hitting staff, from Edgar Martinez to Kevin Seitzer and Bobby Magallanes. These guys are one of the best coaching units in the MLB this season. You see Jorge Polanco with this up the middle approach. It's who he is as a person. It's who he is as a player. It's absolutely who he is as a hitter. And I keep going, Minnesota, you look at when Jorge Polanco's doing well, right? The bat speed slows down and all the other expected numbers and surface level numbers go up. So Jorge Polanco's continuing that up the middle approach. I'd like to see all of our hitters do it. Going from, Julio, right, really pulled that splitter from Trey Savage, hit the bomb to go 3-0 up in game 2. Cal absolutely stayed on that up the middle approach and because he's so up the middle, Cal is, he's able to pull when he needs to, and then he's able to go the other way when he needs to. It's incredibly impressive. Cal is really a pull heavy guy, but he's also such a want to know every pitch guy, which, again, credit to Edgar for that. I think Edgar's made an insane difference with Cal on that level. But you look at Jorge Polanco's up the middle approach. He's the face of it in Seattle right now on the team, outside of Edgar on the coaching staff, and being the face of the up the middle approach for Seattle as a whole in Seattle baseball. We go into the lower levels, back into the lower levels of Seattle baseball, and we see what comes out on the off day that the Seattle Mariners are, come back to Seattle. Jorge Polanco is helping young hitters. There's photos of him at a batting cage helping really young hitters with hitting on his off day in Seattle. This is love of the game. This is how you stay grounded. And I've coached football before. Coaching is absolutely a calling. It's something you do because you want to, not because you have to. And Jorge Polanco, right? What's the best way to get your mind off of all this pressure and stuff? Just go do something that you can control. Going and helping young hitters. Not only is it the most pure and, passionate thing that you can do, not only does it have an excellent effect on the world and Seattle baseball, but this is an up the middle, even keel approach to life. That is absolutely showing up in his baseball, in his hitting. And also, talk about up the middle, he has been rock solid at second base up the middle, especially in the last 2 to 3 months. So Jorge Polanco, the up the middle approach, that's the key for the offense tonight. Who am I going to take to hit homers tonight? My predictions for who's going to hit homers really don't matter, whether I get them right or not. We're just basically looking at the numbers and trying to look at spots, trying to look at opportunities, situations. We're not just looking at, this would be cool or this would be, whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and take Cal. I think he's just going to jump on something from Shane Bieber. Bieber is throwing 35.7% four-seamers this year. That's our best pitch at hitting. He's also throwing 12.6% cutters, a pitch that we've absolutely struggled with, especially because, he also throws 20.3% sliders, another pitch that we've struggled with. And the slider, right, and the cutter go hand in hand, especially in stopping the Seattle Mariners offense, which runs on power, speed, and belief. Then he's got 12.9% changeup, 18.6% curve. I would expect not a whole lot of four-seamers. I might even say that he goes, from 13 up to like 20% cutter, maybe moves down from four-seam, 35 to about 30%. Then he really is conservative mixing those breaking balls in there because he doesn't want to walk our guys. And he has an extremely low walk percentage as well. But, Shane Bieber, high exit velocities, tons of clean innings, and very little walks is what he's survived on and really succeeded on going into this playoffs. There's a reason he's starting Game 3 for the Blue Jays. Even if, the streets of Toronto, I saw reports that the streets of Toronto were kind of lifeless after Game 2. They have an overwhelming sense that the feeling, that this series is over. We are not Blue Jays fans, and we don't live that way. We live with belief. We also live with 1-0 every pitch. There's nothing guaranteed. There is no World Series until the final out or the final run is scored of this ALCS. And so, we are not going to get too strung out on confidence, overdosed on compliments. What Drake said. Stop fearing the consequence. Anyway, Jorge Polanco helping young hitters on his off day, taking the up the middle approach and translating it from his hitting into life. I would absolutely pick Jorge Polanco to get several hits tonight. I'm going to do that instead of I could say Cal's going to hit a homer. It doesn't really matter. I could say that, maybe this is the game that Gino hits a homer, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is the approach. It's how you do it, not what you do. The results that we want are going to be achieved by getting in to the actual process. And another thing that I want to keep saying, everything can go wrong and we can still win. Don't be scared of, we're several runs down. George Springer's got on base and scored both times in this series, both of the first 2 games as the leadoff hitter. What really matters, right? All I'm thinking about right now is the first pitch from George Kirby to George Springer. George on George matchup, right? I'm worried about that first pitch to George Springer. After that, we're underway and it's off to the races. It's, next pitch, right? Next pitch. But we take this one pitch at a time, just like Cal said. Naylor also, I got to give some credit to Naylor. I saw that he was showing pictures of his newborn to a lot of friends out there in Toronto. I know he had a lot of his hometown Mississaugas there. I know he had his Mariners teammates and stuff. But he was showing his daughter to people a little bit, and he had an excellent game, right? But just like Dan Wilson said in the pregame press conference today, this guy is one of the smartest players he's ever been around. And Naylor's being full of juice last game, that is 1-0 every pitch. He got into, I think it was a full count, and put one of the nastiest, swaggiest swings that the Seattle Mariners have had all year on that baseball, driving it out, scoring us several more runs to go up 9-3. It was a 2-run homer from 7-3 to 9-3. And what I want to say for Naylor, my news saying for Naylor is going to be smarts off the charts, because this is, passion and love of the game just reflected in playing the game the right way, being extremely smart, cerebral, just baseball IQ. But also, he does so much that you really can't reflect it just in statistics. And, for that reason, like, the smarts are literally off the charts that we make of numbers and all this stuff. You can't really quantify Josh Naylor's baseball IQ and what it does for this team, but it's absolutely there. Also, shout out to him going 1-0 every pitch, right? That costly mistake, tossing behind Logan Gilbert, that allows the Blue Jays to then go and tie it up in the first inning. And then he comes back with a monster offensive performance in the second half of that game. Again, what happened today is we saw the Gold Glove finalists, and we saw that Julio was nominated, so that's good, right? Former Mariner Ty France, whatever, cool. But also we saw that the catcher position, it was Dylan Dingler, absolutely deserving from the Tigers. We saw him last game, absolutely deserving of that nomination. And then we saw Alejandro Kirk, who we're seeing now, absolutely deserving of that nomination. Those are two of the best defensive catchers in the AL. But obviously, Cal Raleigh doesn't get nominated. They nominate Carlos Narvaez instead from the Red Sox, who also, in his own right, has been a good defensive catcher. But Cal Raleigh didn't allow a pass ball the whole season, had a 788 caught stealing percentage, also very good. And also, his framing is excellent. Not to say his usage of mound visits and his ability to, in that 15-inning game reflected maybe more than any other. Just his ability to be a leader in that battery with every single pitcher on our staff. It is insurmountable. I also, I've got this playoff beard going. It is uncomfortable. I've never grown a beard before, but hey, Cal said we're doing it, so we're doing it. And then really the last thing I want to say is let's go 1-0 every pitch. Stay stoic, and all glory to God. I've had some personal things going on. I had a family member pass away this morning. And baseball means so much, but why does it mean so much to us? Because of everybody who's walked so that we could run. Our family members, who put us, in great positions and everything. But one thing I want to tell you guys, right? Reach out to your family members. Tell them you love them. For me, I just want to say, thank you to my family, to my dad, to my mom, to my 2 sisters. I could not do anything I do without you guys. And when you are, faced with a tough position, it's like Happy Gilmore. You go to your happy place. And really what your happy place is, it's not some fantasy land. It's just think back to how much your family loves you, how many people, would be so happy to see you succeed. It doesn't matter who would be unhappy with, it doesn't matter who's not happy and stuff, right? And that is why right now, right? I don't care if it's Detroit versus everybody, as they're saying. Let's take it right now. It's Seattle versus everybody. Everybody's going to want to jump on this bandwagon, obviously. And that's cool. We knew it was coming. And it is what it is, right? It's all good, but it's really us versus everybody else. And it's also really, the 26 in that clubhouse versus everybody else. This is about the Seattle Mariners versus the Toronto Blue Jays. And what can they do to beat them? Play good baseball. We covered how we're going to do it. Sinkers and sliders to those big power hitters in the middle of the lineup. George Kirby, I'm going to say he only gets 4 or 5 strikeouts today. I'll say 4 because I want him to have more strikeouts than that, obviously, but I really don't care when I see how well our pitchability has been these last 2 games. Clearly, our scouts, our advanced scouts who are looking at the teams we're playing in advance and helping prepare the game plans, who Dan Wilson also gave credit to in the pregame press conference today, those guys are tired and they don't care because the approaches that they have come up with for each of our pitchers to go to each of these Toronto hitters have been lights out. And we might not execute every single pitch. That's okay. That's not what want to know every pitch is about. It's about we're staring the next pitch in the face. We're seizing the moment, and we're also using the plans that we've already prepared with to go at the future. And that is why, we can go 3-0 up today in this series. We can go 2-1 down. It doesn't matter. We have so much baseball still to play. 9 innings is a lot. Even if, 15 innings feels like a lot, you have no idea what's going to happen any day. And that's why, I said 8-3 for that last game. It was 10-3. For game 3, I'm going to go ahead and say, and this is game 170 on the season, by the way. This isn't just game 3 of a new season. This is game 170. We've played a lot of games this year, so we know what we're doing. This isn't some new thing. I'm gonna go ahead and say that we win today. And this is just all spitballing. Let's go, 7-2. I think we keep these Blue Jays hitters off balance. A lot of sinkers, sliders, pitchability. With George Kirby, you don't expect to see too many sinkers and sliders. I'm lying. He throws 26.7% sinkers, 27.4% sliders to just, 29% four-seam fastballs. I think you go four-seam at a lot of the top of this Blue Jays order. Guys like, they haven't even released their lineup yet, but a guy like Nathan Lucas, a guy like, George Springer even, you go kind of four-seam heavy up there, and then you work in those sinker sliders against the heart of the order. I think, we have a really good approach going. I also, want to say I'm excited to see who comes into this game from the bullpen because I have a lot of faith in not just the 4 guys that were in the inner circle of trust near the end of the season, but I have faith in about 6 or 7 of these bullpen options. And no, I'm not going to make this joke this time. But, today is about, there's so many who, walked with this S so that we could run. And it doesn't mean that we're going to sprint out there and, we're not just sprinting out into the open. We're staying behind cover, right? We're going to be analytical. We're going to be cerebral. We've got excellent game plans this entire series. And that is why we're beating the media darling Blue Jays right now. That's going to do it. I want to get this pregame up for you guys before this game. I know, sorry for getting it out just less than 2 hours before the game. But I do want to say, the thing that we're going to end with every single time, even though I've already said it. Want to know every pitch? Stay stoic. Control what we can control. Oh, and all glory to God. And I guess there's one more thing I want to say. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt, I guess. A great man once said, if you try to feel good, you will end up depressed. But if you try to do good, you will end up purposeful. Today is not about feeling good. It's not about having a game that makes us feel good. It's about doing good and being purposeful. We are full of purpose because there's one thing that we're trying to win right now. We've already won the AL West. We've already won the ALDS. The ALCS, we are playing for the pennant, and this is what we want to win right now. Today, we can't win the ALCS today, but we can go 1-0 every pitch, and we can keep advancing. we can get ourselves closer than we've ever been before, and we can make today the day that we have our most successful season in history. Tomorrow and Friday are going to be massive games as well, regardless of what happens today. And I'll be at the stadium for those. But today is all about, let's see what we can. Let's use everything we can. Want to know every pitch. I mean, we could have 5 games left in this series. Could still be a long series. But, if they want to take us in the mud today, our team built on power, speed, and belief, we show that we can get as scrappy as the Tigers. I'm confident that even if we played the Brewers, the scrappiest team right now in baseball, we can get down in the mud and scrap with them. And that's what we're going to do today. Again, let's go play with purpose today. Let's go win this ball game. I'm going to go say 7-2. Not that it matters. George Kirby will say 4 strikeouts, and I'll say Cal. And Polo is the obvious choice to hit a homer, but I'm gonna say Cal and Randy because, man, those guys are taking the plate approach that we need. Oh, and one more thing. Julio Rodriguez, not expanding the strike zone. He took a few strikeouts looking after hitting that massive bomb in the first inning, but he wasn't expanding, his swing. He was staying where he needs to stay. And if you make a mistake pitch to Julio Rodriguez now, good luck. Again, if we want to feel good, we'll end up depressed. If we want to do good, we will end up purposeful. I will see you guys later tonight to recap everything that went down. Go M's.